Hi, this is Jeff Curto, and welcome to episode number 185 of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography. Back a few episodes here in Camera Position 181, we looked at a phrase that is attributed to the great architect Mies Van der Rohe. And that phrase, less is more. Less is more, with the idea that if we make fewer photographs that are more thoughtful, we could end up making better photographs because we are putting more thought into the ones that we're making, and we're not making as many of them. So when I was recording that episode, I'd already started thinking about another Miesian phrase that applies here, but even before I could get to recording of it, several of you listeners emailed or posted on the blog or on the Facebook page that had come to your mind as well. And the other phrase attributed to Mies Van der Rohe is this one: God is in the details. God is in the details. Sometimes God is in the detail, singular. God is in the details, concisely expressing the idea that details matter, and whatever it is you're doing should be done thoroughly and with an attention to detail. This is a proverb, an idiom, a quote, and it's been quoted and quoted plenty of times, and it's been attributed to an awful lot of people over the years. In fact, an exact origin of the phrase, as I started to look it up, is unknown. Some sources say that it originated with another architect, Le Corbusier. Others attribute it to Van der Rohe, but Gustave Flaubert, the French novelist who lived from 1821 to 1880, is recorded as saying it in French before either of them said it. And even Flaubert isn't probably fully responsible because the phrase seems to be a very deliberate variation on the much older anonymous proverb, "The devil is in the details." And yet that phrase, God is in the detail, is so associated with Mies Van der Rohe that it's even referred to in his 1969 New York Times obituary. And I guess I would like to think that Flaubert and Van der Rohe and Le Corbusier all meant the same thing because they were all creative people. They were all artists. Some new piece of writing or some new building or some new photograph may look very fine at quick glance, but sometimes be disappointing when you look closer at the details. It is, after all, relatively easy to come up with a grand overall vision or a plan for something, and it's a lot more difficult to make the plan work in practice when all its little detailed problems start to show up. I see this fairly often in the work of people who are new to photography. You know, while our contemporary cameras are so good and so capable of delivering a technically solid image most of the time, there are an awful lot of places where the technology can go wrong. And even if the image that is created is technically sound, then there's the more profound problem of not having the photographer's intention or idea come across in the picture, often because of inattention to detail. An inspired creation, a creation that continues to inspire, no matter how closely one inspects it, needs as much attention to its details as to its overall plan. And I think it's ironic that the history and origin of a quote that reminds us to pay attention to the details is pretty vague on the range of specific details. But whether the phrase originated with Ludwig Mies Van der Rohe or Le Corbusier or Gustave Flaubert or someone else entirely, the point still remains. More often than not, when something goes awry, it's probably because we forgot to pay attention to the details. There is, though, some good news here. Though the original idea that I discussed in Camera Position 181 was less is more, that less is more suggestion was that making fewer and more thoughtful photographs is one of the best paths to producing work that's better on a consistent basis. With this strategy, fewer images are necessary to make great work happen. So if we're making fewer photographs, then we're also freeing up time to allow us to pay attention to the details, to look for the little bits and pieces that will trip up our execution of technique or, more importantly, our execution of idea. The details we attend to whether we're attending to them at the time of making the photograph or in that point in the pre-production process when we're planning on what it is that we need to get together to make the photograph, or in the post-production process when we're realizing the physical look of the photograph after it's been made. All of those are among the keys to producing better and more deeply felt work. So this idea, God is in the details, or if you prefer the devil is in the details, the idea that what we have to do is really pay attention to each and every detail of the work that we're producing so that we can, in a literal way, sign our name to every square inch of the print that we might make, or sign our name to every square pixel of the image that we might post online. The idea that what we're doing is using the kind of dovetailed philosophies of less is more and the devil is in the details or God is in the details to create the best work we can possibly create by thinking through the process of how we're making pictures and what we're making them for and what it is that we want them to say. So we have Mies Van der Rohe to thank for a lot of aspects of the creative life that we photographers are hoping to have on a daily basis. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography.